because there has been a surging number of attacks on women, especially men who are perving on women. One just this weekend in Astoria, Queens, right near the home of Zohan Mandami, who basically has said he wants to eliminate arrests for misdemeanor crimes. But let's start with where I was this weekend and where all the boys were. I was up in the Bronx. The 4-5 precinct has had a 150% increase in shootings. And we saw that on Saturday, 4 teenagers were shot by somebody on an e-bike, a motorbike, who was able to get away on the corner of St. Peter's Avenue. Thankfully, they've all survived, and they're in Jacoby Hospital recovering from various bullet wounds. What was interesting is when I was up on St. Peter's Avenue, and I've been there many, many times before, I'm the only candidate who spends a lot of time in the Bronx. There were police officers who were there from the 4-8 precinct. I found that odd. It's a 4-5 precinct. And they were telling me, Curtis, there are just not enough cops in the 4-5 precinct, which has led to an incredible rise, 150% alone in shootings. Then the police officers informed me that just half a block away, one of their colleagues, just a few months ago, was attacked. He was off duty but in uniform going home, and he was robbed and beaten by 2 guys who fled to Virginia eventually to be caught, and his service revolver was taken. He had multiple operations in Jacoby Hospital. Thankfully, that police officer is recovering. All within a 1 square block proximity of St. Peter's Avenue. The other thing the cops were telling me is that there have been a series of shootings there. The only difference was nobody was hit, but suspects were attempting to hit other people. And they told me that at the 4-5 precinct and all the precincts in the city, that nothing gets registered as a crime on the crime blotter in the local precinct or kicked up to ComStat, where it gets reviewed each week, unless you actually hit a human being. Multiple shootings on St. Peter's Avenue, none of them reflected in the crime stats. So just extrapolate that. And then on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, again, I was the only mayoral candidate, up to the latest mass shooting, of which we've now had 3 within the last month. And we've been told that's an anomaly by the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, and we were told, there's the perception of crime by Eric Adams, the perception of crime. Well, guess what? We saw 30 shots fired by multiple gunmen right outside a basketball tournament on Burke Avenue, not far from where I lived when I set up the Guardian Angels in the Bronx in 1979. Multiple shootings, 30 shell casings recovered. There were 5 injured. 1 young man who's dead, another young lady who's on life support in the hospital. The 3 others who are thought will recover. There's blood flowing in the streets of the Bronx. That's the 4-7 precinct, where there's been a 50% increase in shootings. And I said to the men and women who were out there scouring around, trying to interview potential witnesses, why are the shootings skyrocketing here in the Bronx? We don't have enough police. We simply don't have enough police in the 4-7 precinct. Now notice, not enough police in the 4-5 precinct, not enough police in the 4-7 precinct. Why isn't the police department and the mayor ordering a massive crackdown on this kind of gun violence in those 2 precincts in the Bronx? They don't spend time in the Bronx. I have a plan as mayor to hire 7,000 additional police, which is critical to the city at this time and in the future, with upwards of 300 cops leaving the department each and every month for various reasons, early retirement, normal retirement, or they've been recruited away. There is no doubt about it that the #1 priority is hiring cops. And I don't see a movement on the part of any of my adversaries in this election cycle to do that. Zoran Mandami doesn't want to hire cops, he wants to hire social workers. Yet, the sanctimonious hypocrite is protected 24/7 now by armed police officers of the NYPD who drive them around in a tax-funded SUV. Now, the only candidate of the four main candidates who's actually been targeted for a hit is yours truly, Curtis SLIWA. June 19th of 1992, I was shot with 5 hollow point bullets on the orders of John Gotti Sr. to John Gotti Jr. and the Gambino crime family. Yet you see me here today. I'm with my wife Nancy. I'm with a campaign aide. I don't have a huge entourage. I have no security. Zoran Mandami is protected by armed police officers, but he wants the people to be protected by social workers. He wants misdemeanors not to be prosecuted. He wants to release inmates in Rikers Island. It will lead to anarchy and chaos. He wants to give an easy pass to criminals in New York City. Andrew Cuomo is the author of No Cash Bail. Today, the president is expected to write up an executive order basically terminating no cash bail in the states and cities where it exists. It'll be very interesting to see what Andrew Cuomo, the author of No Cash Bail, who doubled down in the Democratic primary on that, has to say, because it's his legislation that has led to this crime surge, including raise the age to 18. So we have an issue now, without a doubt, that is equal in stature to what is happening with affordable housing and obviously the cost of living, very much a concern to the voters. But now crime and quality of life is very much a concern to the voters. Polls indicate that they're neck and neck. When it comes to law and order, there's no doubt I have the bona fides. I am the expert in this field, having dedicated 46 years of my life to providing public safety to the residents of New York City with the Guardian Angel. My wife Nancy here joins me today because we were dealing with the situation in Astoria, where a man has been curving on women, harassing them, assaulting them, and gets through the turnstile justice system because of no cash bail. 30, 40 times. Most of these attacks, most of these violations of female rights, both in the subway and in the streets and in the parks of Astoria, have occurred in broad daylight and in early evening. And the police arrest and then all of a sudden turn them loose based on Andrew Cuomo's no cash bail. So clearly, women feel the number one issue is the violation of their rights by sexual harassers, by perverts, and those who intend on doing them harm. And as I've committed to my wife Nancy, we are going to prioritize protecting women in the city who, number one, are the majority of the workers. Many of them now are in charge of households as single parents raising families, and without which nightlife cannot exist, since they are the majority of the workers and managers who keep the restaurants, who keep the bars and the nightclubs going. Priority number one, public safety, quality of life. All three of these candidates failed the residents of the Bronx this weekend. They were all missing in action, either in scavenger hunts, lifting weights, creating a new theme song for his campaign, Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, I got him one right here, The Who. We won't be fooled again. It's time to stop the silliness and let's start focusing on the serious issues, which have to do with a rise in violent crime and a diminution in the quality of life.
Curtis, CBS, you touched upon the cashless bail. What do you think of Trump's executive orders or new funding to cities that have cashless bail?
Cashless bail created by Andrew Cuomo in 2019 as governor. And then he doubled down on that in the primary, says he's in favor of it, but can't seem to think how it has contributed to the rise of crime and violent crime in the city. I'm completely 100% in agreement with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in saying the cashless bail, not just here in New York City, but in other cities, of which in some I have Guardian Angel, has led to a rise in violent crime, misdemeanor and petty crimes that have been a plague to the community. It'll be interesting. What does Andrew Cuomo say about this, the author of No Cash Bail? What does Zoran Mandami say about this, who believes in no cash bail, because they're like a hybrid? You get one, Zoran Mandami, and you get Zoran Mandami light. That's Andrew Cuomo. I'm totally in favor of what the president is attempting to do today with an executive order, although I guarantee you this will be a litmus test for Kathy Hochul. Will she go into court and challenge this federal executive order? Or will she back off and understand this is in the best interest of all New Yorkers from Buffalo to Brooklyn?
In lieu of extra cops at this moment, would you support federal law and federal troops coming in like they've done in D.C.?
3 levels, as the president has suggested after dealing with Chicago, which has had a violent past, even before the socialist Mayor Johnson. I mean, they've just had a growing gang problem.